Welcome back, Caniacs. Another episode of the Storm Cellar. Brad is here, and the Calgary Caniac. Ray is with me. Ray, how are things in the Great White North?
Snowy. We got a blast of snow overnight
I
here.
love snow.
Yeah, it's all right. Just in time for Halloween. The ghosts and goblins will be wearing their parkas over top of their costumes. That's the way it rolls up here in the Great White North. Every now and again, you get lucky and you can have a year where you can actually wear your costume on the outside. But yeah, this time it might require a little bit extra bundling up for the ghosts and goblins, but nonetheless, it should be fun and cool. But you know what? This is Calgary. If you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. It'll change. That's just the way it is here.
In Massachusetts, I think my trick-or-treater is going to be going out like in a small boat, maybe, or canoe, for I think 3 inches or so of rain that
Oh
we've gotten
my
the last couple of days. So,
goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope everyone stays safe up there, not too much damage to homes and things. It's been one of those years. It's been one of those years for weather-wise, let me
yeah,
say.
I'm expecting to get dumped on for snow. We normally get a couple of feet, but I think this year might be pushing it,
Yeah,
maybe two
for
and a half,
sure.
3 feet. So to start off, Ray, and for the listeners, and Ray and I have talked about this extensively. I think everybody knows there was some big news out of Chicago in the hockey world. Being a family-friendly podcast, my 8-year-old listens to it. We are going to do a separate episode that will be geared toward adults, to really be able to talk about the situation, what we're calling the Chicago Blackhawks cover-up. We're not going to do it tonight. We want everybody to be able to listen to this, one of our regular episodes. We'll do a special episode devoted just to that topic coming up this week. I think we've all, Ray, myself, all the fans I know, the people that we interact with on Twitter, we've all been, focused so much on that these last few days. I think we all just kind of need a break from it. So we decided that we're going to focus on the positive, get a little positivity, a little good mental health going for ourselves and hopefully for our listeners. We're going to focus on Hurricanes hockey this week. And then sometime next week, we will talk about the Chicago Blackhawks cover-up in a special episode. Anything to add, Ray?
Just very quickly, just to make it absolutely positively clear, we do stand by you, Kyle Beach. I cannot believe how brave you've been to take this head on, and we wish you the best. And we will also have an opportunity to let people know how they can get the help they need when they need it. We're going to take time to quickly touch on that too, because it's very important. And I don't mind sharing that as someone myself who is a sufferer of depression and anxiety. There are times when you need help, and don't be afraid to reach out. And yeah, so we'll leave it there for now. We will touch on it a little bit further on, like you said, special episode. But right now, let's take a look at what we do best. And what we're best at is talking the Carolina Hurricanes. And there is a lot to talk about. I mean, there is a lot to talk about.
You hit the nail on the head. Maybe the biggest story Hurricanes related this week is they're undefeated through 7, Ray. 7-0-0. I keep seeing Twitter posts about, hey, 82-0-0 is possible, and I keep correcting people. That's not right. It's 98-0-0 is
Exactly.
still possible.
Still possible, because that's really what we want. We want that cup, and doing it undefeated would be unfathomable. It seems almost impossible, but we can dream, right? And at 7-0 with the games that they've won and how the Hurricanes have won each game is its own story. And there have been, two key stories in the 7 victories that we had. I know that there's a standout game for you. There's a standout game for me. Do we flip a coin and see who goes first, or do I just bow to you and say, hey, head at her?
No, I'm going to bow to you because
Okay,
your
very
game
good.
came first. Let's do it chronologically. I think that's
Okay,
fair.
chronologically is great.
I'm going to let you set me up. So
Now before I jump into my favorite game, I just want to point out, and I'm going to I try not to break my arm while I pat myself on the back. But during the last podcast, I had a chance to predict the Arizona game. I guessed it would be 4-2 with Teravainen getting the winner over Nashville. I was only partially right. Yeah, Teravainen did get the game winner, but it was a 3-2 victory. It would have been a 2-goal margin had we not given up the late goal. Nonetheless, we got the victory, and that's all that matters. They don't care how, they just care how many goals you score and you win. That's all that matters. So we won. I just want to take that little, hold on a second. Yeah, I don't know
and
if
we
you can
look
hear
good
it.
doing it.
There's the pat on the back that I gave myself. Now, the game that I don't think I could have scripted any better, and that was the 4-1 victory over the team that shall not be named. You want to
There's
tell
a
everybody?
David Ayers movie coming out, and if you could script a game any better, there would be a Hurricanes Habs movie coming out featuring Kotkaniemi, whose name
Oh,
I've been working on.
and that was beautiful, beautifully done. Very nice touch. Look, we beat the Habs 4-1, and of course that put a huge smile on my face. But it wasn't just the 4-1 victory. It wasn't just the fact that they did it in Montreal. It was the fact that Sebastian Aho had 2 goals and a helper. Kotkaniemi also had a goal in this one for the victory. And there's just so much to unpack. I'll try to unpack it very, very quickly. Of course, anyone who is a Habs fan, anyone who is a Hurricanes fan, in fact, any NHL fan in general knows exactly what happened because it was the key part of the whole game. It was talked about all over North America in every location. They're talking about the social media fun that the Hurricanes had. Probably the best social media team of any team, any sporting team out there. Carolina Hurricanes
Agree.
social media is absolutely beautiful. But this started 2 years ago, or is it 3 years ago? My math is probably bad. When the Habs put an offer sheet to Sebastian Aho. And of course, we jumped in and said, no, 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 no. You're not taking Seabass from us. We signed him. It was a foregone conclusion, and so be it. We turn around and they can't, the Habs can't decide what are they going to do with Kotkaniemi and so forth. And we kind of sweep in and say, let's help you with that decision. In fact, we throw the offer sheet with the $20 bonus, a lovely reference to
So
the
petty.
Aho, like it was so petty. And we've talked about it already. It was beautiful, right? So now it's a chance for the two teams to meet after all of this off ice, scrapping going on and contention. What's going to happen on the ice? Well, what happens on the ice is the very second that Jesperi Kotkaniemi steps on the ice, the fans boo him unmercifully, which is really interesting. Have fan forgets so quickly that it was Kotkaniemi who got them through the first round. They would not have made it to the final. They would not have made it past the Toronto Maple Leafs had he not had the 3 big goals that he had in that series. So they forget very, very quickly there just how important he was. Nonetheless, moving along, the booing, the intermittent booing every time he steps on the ice, it was throughout the entire game. They booed extra loud when he scored the third goal, which was lovely, which was absolutely lovely. But to throw into the mix, Sebastian Aho picking up 2 goals and a helper. It was glorious. It is all, like I said, I don't think I could have wrote it any better other than maybe having Kotkaniemi scoring a hat trick and it being a complete shutout of the Habs. Maybe that would have made me a tiny bit happier, but you know what? 4-1 victory in Montreal, Kotkaniemi with the goal, Aho playing brilliantly, the team squashing the Habs. Glorious, absolutely glorious. That was my favorite of the 7 games that we have won. I know you have a favorite. Bring it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be a Captain What Upper here, because as much as I like the Habs game, folks who listen to the show who interact with us on Twitter know that I am a Carolina raised boy living outside of Boston. I can see Boston from my front door.
Wow.
So every time we play Boston, I'm just like I am on Twitter. I'm very much the same person in real life. I talk a lot of junk. I receive it. It's all good natured banner. My boss has Bruins season tickets. So the Bruins game, where the Carolina Hurricanes shut out the big bad Bruins 3-0, was beautiful. It was a masterpiece. Tony DeAngelo gets the scoring going in the first. It was Shea and Trocheck, I think, on the assist there. Then our boy Nino on the power play comes up big in the second. And then my man Andrei Svechnikov in the third, empty net goal. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And one of my favorite new GIFs, I've tweeted it at least 2 or 3 times. Slavin gets a penalty in that game. And I texted you and I said, Slavin got a penalty. He's probably not going to get the Lady Bing this year. So you know what? I think I'm just going to go put a body on DeBrusk. And he sent DeBrusk flying. And it was beautiful to see Slavin use that big body of his in that way. Boy, I've watched that clip 100 times and I keep laughing about it.
Yeah, well, and what's great, look, Slavin only has 2 minutes. Now, maybe he doesn't get the Lady Bing because the nature of the penalty this time in the Bruins game was a trip, whereas the penalty last year was a delay of game. Puck got away on him and got flipped over the glass. That's the only reason why he even took 2 minutes last year. So, he's only got 2 minutes. Come back to me if he gets another penalty, then okay, maybe he's not your Lady Bing winner and stuff, but he's still the front runner because being a defenseman and winning that trophy is unbelievably difficult.
One of the best in the league. We're so lucky to have him.
No question.
But he's not the only guy playing well.
Oh,
in just a minute, we're going to go and look at the 3 players we said to watch. But who do you think's leading the team in points, Ray? I know you don't look at the stats so much. So if you just had to throw out a name, who's leading the team in points?
Well, it seems like Svetch is always on the board. It seems like he's always got his, he's touching the puck somehow and it's going into the net. So I want to default to Svetch. Maybe it's Aho though, because Aho has been fantastic too. So I'm going to default to Svetch, but I'm not sure.
100% correct.
Oh, wow. There you go.
My boy Andre has 7 goals and 4 assists for 11 points. He's averaging 1.57 points per game, which is almost double his point production the last 3 years.
He looks so sharp.
Aho's in second. He's got 10 points. He's right there with 5 and 10. A couple of names on the list that surprised me. I was a little shocked. One is Jesper Fast has 3 goals already and an assist. 3 goals in 7 games. That's a lightning start, I think, for him. Mm-hmm. The other one that jumped out to me, and a couple of our Twitter folks, Gina and Rich, are going to like this one. Brett Pesce has 4 assists, which it felt like it snuck up on me. I'm like, I think, Pesce got an assist on. That's great. He has 4 assists in the 7 games. So he's clicking at a 0.57 point per game pace, which is fantastic. Kokaniemi, Ethan Bear, a lot of folks are putting up points that we aren't really used to, or they're new to the team. And this is the first time we're getting a look at them. And guys like Bear, who we're going to get to in a second, are starting to look really comfortable. I mean, I've seen some really great breakout passes, some really good D work. They're moving the puck really well. But the scoring, we have 5 guys over a point per game right now. Svechnikov, Aho, Trocheck, Teravainen, and DeAngelo are all over a point per game. And Slavin is at 0.86, which is where Svetch was last year.
It's a testament to just how deep this team is this season. And the contributions that are up and down the lineup. I've had a chance to see a few of the games of the 7 victories, and what I've noticed some of the best shifts are coming from the fourth line. In the most critical points, Rod is okay to not shorten the bench. He throws that fourth line out there, and you've got Lawrence, who needs a pat on the back for his goal. The goal that he scored against the Leafs, where
All
he
heart,
had
all
that
effort. That was
one, it
amazing.
was all effort, all by himself. A guy draped all over him, like in his hip pocket, and he still scored. It was unbelievable, that kind of effort. It felt great watching. And the pressure that they put, the intensity, everyone's bringing it, and it's awesome. I love it. Up and down the lineup. That's what we want from the Hurricanes. That's what any fan wants from their team in general.
And I think you're right. I think it's one thing to say you can roll four lines. It's another thing to say we are rolling four lines and they're all being productive. Our
Yes.
fourth line isn't out there because they're shutting people down. They're shutting people down and they're putting the, puck in the net.
Yeah, production is it's a funny word. A lot of people say, well, production only means points. That's not always the case, and especially when you look at the fourth line, they got to be, the chew up important minutes. But when they can do that and produce like we're getting, it's like a plus plus for the fourth line. You know what I mean? Because that's what you want. You want that effort, that grit, all the rest of it. And if you could put the puck in the net, it just makes you that much more of a threat, and it gives you that much more confidence, and confidence begets confidence. That snowball gets rolling, and look out.
It
You
reminds me of, sorry, Ray, it reminds me when we had still my favorite Hurricane, Kevin Adams. We used to joke about his brother Craig on that centering that fourth line. Those two guys, they would sometimes rotate out that third player, but when those guys hit the ice, they did not put up points the way that we're capable of now. But
Mhm.
you got, when I see our fourth line now, and even the third line, third line's a little different, but the energy I see on the ice, I go, oh man, this is like watching the Adams again. Their bodies flying all over the place. Somebody's on the puck. They're skating hard, forward checking, back checking. Nobody's taking the shift off.
No, it's great to see, and that, again, and I've said it many times before. I'll keep saying it. That's what Rod wants to see, and everyone's taking on Rod Brind'Amour's character. Everything about Rod that he was as a player, it seems like it's just bleeding out into everyone, and everyone's just soaking it up like a sponge and taking it and running with it. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Lots of reasons to be happy.
I like the way you put that because it you gave me a segue, and I appreciate that. Speaking of doing things Rod's way, learning from Rod, let's talk about we've given folks three players to watch.
Yep.
Let's start with the person who's highest on the points list because I'm just looking at it. Tony DeAngelo is on fire. 2 goals, 6 points. I'm sorry, 6 assists, 8 points. He's throwing the body around. He had a Gordie Howe hat trick against the Blackhawks. Some people are just over the moon about that. I think it's great on one level, but without getting into it, nothing's changed my mind other than the guy's playing solid hockey.
I'll say this, he picked his spot in that very same game. The Hurricanes were off and running. They were up. They already had scored their sixth goal, and the Hawks are fighting and clawing and trying to get something going. And they were trying to stir up stuff in front of the net, and TDA skated away from getting into the mix, maybe taking a bad penalty, maybe whatever. And that is the type of headspace that you need. Defend your guys, be there first, which is what he did, like with the fight and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, he was okay
Right.
to chuck the knuckles when he needed to, but he didn't do anything that was, perilous or perhaps affecting the team. That is what you want. We want production. I said, he was brought in, and again, specifically earmarked as the guy who could replace Dougie Hamilton, who could provide the points. And he's providing the points, but he's also making contributions elsewhere. And like as you mentioned, he scored the first goal in the Bruins. He scored the game winner in the Brew. I mean, so one of the two goals that he scored was game winner. That's the contributions that we need, and you can
Yeah.
get behind, and you love his headspace right now. So he absolutely is coming through, and he deserves the on ice credit that he's getting and that we're giving him.
Yeah, I don't want to compare him and Hamilton. I
You
still like
can't yet.
Hamilton.
You can't yet because
Right.
he's only it's 7 games in.
It's
But
7 games in. That
it's
being
seven
said,
games in.
Tony has literally doubled Hamilton's point production if we're looking strictly at hockey numbers. He has twice the goals, he has twice the assists, he has 8 points. Hamilton's at 4. So if we're and we are just talking hockey sense and
Yeah.
hockey numbers, hockey ability, Tony has done everything that's asked of him on the ice thus far,
So
which is a good start for the Hurricanes. Like you said, he didn't do the hot-headed thing. Hoping Brind'Amour is talking to him and
yeah,
on a regular basis. But from a hockey perspective, a really hot start for Tony DeAngelo.
loved it. And let's look at another one of the players that we focused on, also on D. And one of the players that we said to watch was Ethan Bear. And Ethan Bear, while he is at 3 assists right now, I got to check with the stats, man. You know the numbers.
You got it.
3 assists is all right, but he has done a lot of. Now I've noticed in the games that I've seen, he everyone kind of said, well, with the Hurricanes D, he's probably going to be a third pairing. He's getting numbers with and minutes with Slavin. He is earning a lot of minutes. And the reason why he's earning that time with a lot of minutes is he's been making some really smart plays and wonderful pinches. Some of his pinching opportunity, when he pinches in to create opportunities, he's doing it in the right way. He's not risking the D on the back end. He has had one game in particular, I can't remember which one. He was responsible for a giveaway that eventually turned into a goal. Those things happen to every player on the ice. You cannot break it down and say, oh, terrible. You know what I mean? Those things will happen. What I do know is on that very same game where he had that giveaway that actually led to a goal, he also had one of the assists. So, you know what? He's all in all, he is playing fantastically. He's getting great minutes. I've heard this phrase used a number of times, a minute muncher. For D-men, you want them to eat up time. You know what I mean? Eat up time on the ice in a positive way. He's doing everything positive. Ethan Bear, love his addition, love the way he's being used. He's got wonderful hockey sense. And what a great contributor to this D that is now ridiculously deep, just like the forwards. I mean, this whole team is nothing but depth. I love it. Ethan Bear, so glad to have you aboard, and keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
I'm right with you because, like you said, Ethan's been playing a lot with Slavin. He's averaging almost 18 and a half minutes ice time, which is a little over half of the D. Slavin's up there around 22 minutes. Pesce also at 22 because they're really relying on those guys. But I think they're doing that in part to get Tony in, to get Ethan in, to get Ian Cole in, to get a little more, give the opposition some different looks.
Yeah.
Keep an offensive threat out there, which, Slavin and Pesce, although Pesce has 4 assists, but, those guys are normally not, known for that. But he's making smart plays because, like you said, he wouldn't be on the first if he wasn't. And I think in some ways that's a lot of pressure for a young player. But I think coming from Edmonton to Carolina, I can imagine, high pressure here is probably medium pressure in Edmonton. And when you have a team this good and a D-core this good, he's able to relax a little bit. I mean, plus minus is kind of an interesting stat. It doesn't always tell you the whole story, but he's a +6 with those 3 assists. So even with the giveaway, like you said, he gets the assist back. He's playing sound hockey.
He is.
Which is what we want. And then it kind of like Kotkaniemi, it's going to be, you keep playing sound hockey. Yaspiri keeps going to the front of the net. He's going to start getting those goals. They're going to start going in. I feel the same way with Ethan. I think Ethan's going to start racking up assists if he just keeps doing what he's doing. The puck is going to start. He's going to start. You make your own luck. He's going to start getting those bounces, and if he keeps doing what he's doing, I'm super happy.
And when here's you brought up a great point. I want to kind of punch it home here. You mentioned, of course, him being one of the younger D men out there, and we're talking about the pairings, the guys to pair him up with. Who better than to pair him up with Slavin? I mean, if you want a defensive partner that you can learn and grow from, Slavin's your guy. Guys like Ian Cole, let's talk about him. I mean, he's another guy that's a great pairing, solid defensive, and lots of experience, people that you can just learn from, absorb their knowledge. And that's what he's doing. And he's, like I said, the pinches that I've seen him make that create, these 4-star opportunities, some of them that have turned into goals, some of them that don't, but they're just unbelievable opportunities. When he pinches, big things happen. So Ethan, like I said, Ethan Bear's great, but Rod pairing him up with Slavin, I think, is a means to an end. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to speed up that development. And even though he doesn't get the major minutes like, Slavin and Pesci and Shea and stuff like that, you never have a fear putting him on the ice either. And you don't have to, again, you do not have to shorten the bench and keep guys on. Everyone stays fresh and everyone's ready to go, and you just keep turning it out. That relentless pressure and the safety that the third players that we highlighted are certainly enjoying with a great play on D. We spoke specifically about watching Anderson because you and I both suspected that Frederick would be the number one goaltender,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and he has been. He's got six. He's 6-0, and solid, solid, solid. And yeah, when we started talking about him, it was after that first game where he's kicking out these huge rebounds and stuff like that. I've watched him play again, 6 victories, and very, very few, if any, quote unquote, bad goals.
He's looked
He's
rock solid.
he's been rock steady out there, and you see, I mean, it's fun to watch. Fun to watch. And then I mean, I don't even know where to go. The man has been fantastic. When you have great goaltending, uh and that's like that it's a what is the when you get a cycle that's positive, just more good things happen. Anderson plays uh Anderson plays great because of the D that's in front of him. The D that's in front of him can take opportunities to create offensive chances because they know they've got Anderson, the brick wall, in behind him. You know what I mean? And they that feeds on each other, right? And just Anderson is enjoying a D grouping that he hasn't had. I think it's fair to say he's not had a D line this strong in his career. He's got to be loving it, and he's producing.
He's
Like
another
he's
guy I think that's benefiting from not being in the the pressure cooker of Canada.
Yeah,
Um,
Toronto's a whole different place. Even Toronto is a whole different place, even from Edmonton and Calgary, who are hockey focused. I mean, like they're bright spotlights in these areas, but Toronto is another world altogether. And you hit the nail on the head. He's got to be enjoying the atmosphere in Raleigh.
I love the fact that a guy we drafted in 2010, I think it was, comes home to play. He's I'm not going to include Huso because he's only played one game. He's second behind James Reimer,
Wow.
a name we know, in both
Yeah.
save percentage and goals against. Reimer's had 3 games, has a 961 save percentage and a 119 goals against. Anderson has 6 victories, has a 956 save percentage and a 133 goals against. A couple of those games are against pretty good opponents. So
Some of the saves he made in that Bruins game. Wow. Like, look, Anderson gets the shutout, and he's the number one star, and clearly earned it because there were a few opportunities that the Bruins had in alone on him, and he turned them aside. And that's, I mean, again, it just boosts the rest of the team when he can come up with big saves. And even when he looked like he was not necessarily out of position, but scrambling. When he's scrambling, he doesn't look like he's scrambling out of control or fish out of water. You know what I mean? Every movement seems to be with purpose
Mm-hmm.
and awareness of his puck awareness. Where is the puck? What do I need to do to keep it out? And he's got it, and he's doing it perfectly. I love it. I love it.
I was one of those people who was kind of up in arms when we got rid of both, Mrazek, Reimer, and Nedeljkovic.
Yep.
And I've said a couple of times, like I'm starting to think I owe Frederick a big apology because he's played rock solid. I think he's done everything that's been asked of him. He's not really letting in soft goals, like you said. He's got into what I was like, oh, this might be trouble, but he's been able to get himself out. You mentioned the Bruins game, and these aren't the Bruins of 2 or 3 years ago, but
Nope.
it's still Bergeron, Marchand, DeBrusque, Hall, Coyle,
Pasternak.
like Pasternak. They're still a loaded team.
Yep.
They aren't as dominant as they were a couple years ago, but they're still going to be somebody who's going to be in the playoffs. They're going to contend at least. And I think Anderson's done an excellent job. I
Yeah.
think communication is a big key. I think Rod being in the locker room, in the training room, lifting weights, running, doing all those things, I think he sees it and he's going to keep that going. Same reason, like you mentioned, putting Bear with Slavin. You can learn, you communicate. I think the Hurricanes probably do that as well as any team in the league. And that makes a big difference. You can see in some other teams, you can start to almost see when there's a mistake that the Hurricanes kind of gel and they regroup and they refocus and they take care of it. And sometimes even this early in the season on other teams, you kind of see guys and you kind of see, one guy's giving another guy kind of the evil eye, or, they get to the bench and they're jawing at each other. And if the Hurricanes have a streak at some point, which they won't because they're going 98-0-0, but that open communication, I think, helps limit some of that tension. And when the guys aren't feeling the pressure, they're going to play better.
To your point about that, I want to say, and give an example, an in-game example about this team's attitude, and that is the 6-2 victory over Chicago. The Hurricanes were behind in that game twice. 1-0 and 2-1. They were down. And in each case, they rebounded quickly. And not only rebounded quickly, but they then took over the game. And I think that is, when you get behind relatively early, it was about 6 minutes in when the Hawks scored their first goal on Antiniemi, who also played well. I got to give him a shout out. He got his win, played pretty solid. The D did not, give him, he did not face as many opportunities as gold star opportunities, say, as Anderson has, but he still played very well, earned his pay. So good on him. But when we're talking about Anderson and the rest of the team, like I said, it's a cyclical thing. They, even when they find themselves down, which they haven't been down very often, it's that quick response, never out of any game. And you're going to get contributions from everywhere. I mean, it doesn't even have to be the top lines that are getting you back in the game. And a few times it's been the fourth line scoring the goal that sparks the fire that the rest of the team brings the rest of the way to take it home. It's great. I'm loving it.
And to touch on just what you said and maybe think of that Blackhawks game, the Hurricanes in our history, you get up by 2 goals and then you move to that defensive shift of, style hockey, which I hate it. I don't use the hate word much. I hate it.
The most dangerous lead in the NHL is the 2-goal lead.
And Rod Brind'Amour, bless him, doesn't believe in that. The Hurricanes, they're down 1-0. It's 1-1. They're down 2-1. Now it's 2-2. 17 seconds later, it's 3-2. Oh, we're up.
Yeah.
But we're not going to sit on it. It's
No, foot on the
4-2.
throttle.
It's 5-2. It's 6-2. They might have pulled up a little bit in the third, but
I think
I
that's
don't
fair to
feel for
say.
a second that they didn't have that game fully in control.
No, you're absolutely right. The way that came against the Hawks, who are in a world of hurt right now on the ice. I mean, their coach, Collinton, has handed a whiteboard to the players to draw up their own play late in the game, in another game. I can't remember which one it was,
A couple
but
nights that was a
they
bad
are
look.
they are in disarray right now. So the one of the keys that I've always wanted to, and I've said this before, look, you want your team to give 100% every single time they step on the ice for the full length of the game, 60 minutes or 65 if need be, right? Like that's what you want. That's what you want to see. Over and above that, in a season, win the games that you are supposed to win. You know what I mean? When you come across a team in disarray like the Hawks, a weaker squad, a team like Montreal who was struggling mightily out of the gate, you do not give them an opportunity to bounce off with a victory on you. You squash them, you take your 2 points, and you keep moving. And that's how you guarantee a good spot in the playoffs. That's how you guarantee success in the playoffs. Win the games you know you can win. And that's what I mean. There's just no, I don't want there to be any trap games. Speaking of trap games, how about on Halloween afternoon in Raleigh, the Arizona Coyotes? They are struggling mightily as well. And they're coming in. This could be looked at as a trap game. A team that's right on the bottom, doing terrible, struggling in net, like they're just hurting all over, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
brutal.
Halloween. It's on a Halloween, so the fans in the stands are going to be decked out in all of their Halloween costumes. It's going to be a glorious thing to see. I mean, look, and fans, Caniacs in Raleigh are great. Now get them all dressed up in Halloween. I mean, that place is going to be rocking. So you think, oh, this one's in the bag, right? It's a trap game that Rod is going to ensure that is not taken lightly. You look at everyone like these are the best players in the league that we're facing. You step up, you don't back down.
Arizona currently occupies the spot that I think most all of us thought was going to be Buffalo. They're
Yep.
32nd in the league. They're dead
Ugh.
last. They don't have a regulation win. They do have an overtime win. Their goal differential is a negative 25
Negative 25.
in
Did they
in 8 games.
did they even show up in those games? Like, how did they ever win in overtime?
That's
Negative 25 in 8 games is unbelievable.
they're losing by 3 goals on average.
Oh,
I mean, that's brutal. I agree with you. That's a trap game. The Hurricanes got to really be careful about that one. And then, in some ways, they after that we followed up with another one because then we're seeing the Blackhawks again, who are
in
31st in the
Chicago.
league in
Yeah.
Chicago. So at that point, Chicago might also still be winless.
Yep.
They do have overtime wins, but winless in regulation. And you don't know is Chicago kind of a cornered animal? Are they finally going to fight back and give you everything they got, or because the players seem to have the coaches lost the room as far as I can tell?
Yeah.
Are they going to go through the motions? But like you said, Rod needs to have the boys ready to play either way, and I think he will. So
That leads to something big. And I know you don't want to say it for fear of jinxing it.
I'm going to knock
I,
on wood first.
yeah, hold on a second. I'm knocking on my forehead. That usually qualifies as my wood. Look, I'll tell you what. We have, and the Hurricanes have, an opportunity to be undefeated going into a game facing on the 6th of November, a team that is currently undefeated and may also be undefeated at the same time, and that is the Florida Panthers, a potential matchup for undefeateds. Did you ever think that that would be a phrase that would even be a remote possibility at the start of the season? The Hurricanes and the Panthers undefeated 3 weeks into the season.
Bring back the South Beast Division.
Oh man, that was such a
the good news for the Canes, we knocked on wood. As much as I would like to see it, Florida's got it pretty tough. They're playing the Bruins tonight. They're about 2 minutes in. It's still 0-0.
yeah.
And on Thursday they have Washington. So
Oof.
they have a couple extra days of rest. You know, this early in the season, that should be good for a team. It's not such a long layoff that they should get rusty. But, you know, they're going to be taking on Washington, who has 5 wins themselves and is no pushover. Ovechkin's look great.
Oh man.
Tom Wilson, you know, is always a threat. You never know what's going to happen when he's on the ice.
Oshie's been great for them.
Oshie's been fantastic.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
It's one of those things that as a hockey fan, I would like to see. As a Hurricanes fan, I'd rather Florida go ahead and lose one.
that would be nice.
Take a little pressure off, but
yeah, I mean, look, we'll like we got to take care of our own business. Let's not overlook Arizona or Chicago. Get those victories, and I'm sure, like we mentioned earlier, Rod's going to have them going. But going into that game, if both teams are undefeated, look out. That's going to be exciting.
That should be an ESPN main channel primetime game,
wouldn't it? And it absolutely should be. It absolutely should be. Maybe you do a quick shuffle in the game. Maybe we're going to go with one game. We got undefeated teams squaring off here. Let's take a look at these teams and highlight them, which is something, as a hockey fan in Canada, I get a healthy dose of the Canadian teams. I don't always get a chance to see American squads playing and so forth, but to have the Hurricanes and Panthers elevated because of their early success, and I mean, that would just be fantastic, and it's good for the game.
It's good for the game, and these are fun teams to watch.
Yeah,
this is not early 2000s Hurricanes Devils trap versus trap.
Ugh.
Like a game nobody, even Devils and Hurricanes fans, nobody wants to see that prime time.
No.
These are two teams that can score, they can skate. Bobrovsky's top 5 in goaltending.
Oh.
We just mentioned, Freddie's top 5 in goaltending.
Yep.
This would be a great thing to put on national TV to bring in fans, because if you watch that game, it's gonna be a fun game. There's gonna be a lot going on. Whether you win or lose, you're gonna go, I want more hockey like this.
Yeah, no question. No question. You hit the nail on the head. A little overflow of last season as well, because we got to know the Panthers quite well last season as well. A healthy hate amongst some of these teams that, we were stuck in that, very shortened, abbreviated, intense, only this division opponents. So they got a lot of look at the Panthers last season, developed that hate, the rivalry. It will be there, really marking next Saturday's broadcast. I mean, and that's going to be a fantastic game, and well worth the watch. Well worth the watch.
So one person who unfortunately is probably going to be watching that on TV is going to be Nino Niederreiter. According to Walt Ruff, new Canes reporter, Rob Brind'Amour said, looks like it's a lower body injury, may be out a while, which in hockey speak means it could be anything below his neck.
Yeah.
It looked like an ankle. I think everybody kind of feels it's an ankle, but is it a sprain? Is it a tear? What's going on?
Oh, man.
Nino's a big part of the team.
He is.
On the bright side, and I'm trying to look at this as trying to find the positive. I think, and I hope, knock on wood again, do we get to see Seth Jarvis?
I think absolutely. I think this is Seth Jarvis's opportunity to step into the spotlight and show his skill and flourish mightily. And he may not get the huge amounts of ice time or whatever. Of course, Rod's going to shuffle the lineups in which he's been uh I'm not going to say infamous, but he's got his lineups that he starts the game with, and very rarely are those the same, lines that he rolls with all game long. He doesn't mind tinkering a little bit, you know what I mean? And he'll shift
Mhm.
things and he'll find the players that he thinks will match up, and away they go. That's what makes a good coach. Seth Jarvis is going to step into the opportunity, and he's going to get his fourth line chance with maybe a few chances to bump up to the third line. I could see him on the third line, and he's a threat. He's fun to watch. He's quick. He's got a great shot. I mean, there's really not a lot to be down on aside from the fact that he's green. And he's
Right.
and the reason why he's not in the lineup now, let's make this perfectly clear, is because the Hurricanes are hugely deep in their four lines.
Plenty of teams he would be starting on,
No
and
question.
top, top 12 forward. Plenty of teams.
Absolutely. Many teams. So him getting his opportunity now, I think he could really flourish. I'd totally look for Jarvis, and I would love to see him succeed very, very early.
Before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you just said, because looks like, according to, I think this might have come from Kevin Weeks. So there's a hurricane for you.
Yep.
Claude Julien might be the next coach picked up. And what you said that made me think of that is, you said, Brind'Amour, he has a game plan. Game starts. The plan kind of goes out the window in a well, in a professional, well thought out way.
Yep.
And I said, like, oh, like, I know some people love Claude Julien, but the guy's, he doesn't give young players a chance. If you're a young player and you make a mistake, like, you're not getting off the bench again the rest of that game. You may not be in the lineup the next game. And Rod is he's the opposite of that. He's gonna look, he's gonna put Jarvis in. Maybe he's on the fourth line. He's like, man, the kid's really skating good tonight. You know what? I'm gonna throw him on the second line. I'm gonna throw him on the first line, because you put skill with skill and you see magic happen.
Oh
And
man.
Rod's the kind of coach who gets that. And if it doesn't work, or he may just say, we're going to do this for a couple of shifts and just see how it looks. And then he recalculates. He's always thinking, he's always making adjustments. And that's what gives him such a big advantage over coaches like Julien, who don't have that. They go in with their game plan, and that's the game plan. And this isn't, it makes me think of football, American football. It's, this is just, we're gonna script the first 50 plays of the game or whatever it is, to get us through the first half. And that's just how it's going to be, regardless of what the defense is doing. Like, well, that's a terrible idea. If what you're doing is not working, switch it up. And the Hurricanes do that as well as anybody in the league. And I think that's a big part of the success that we've seen. And that's going to benefit young guys like Bear, Jarvis, um, Kokiniemi being
Yeah.
the team, because they're going to get an honest shot from Brind'Amour. And if they make a mistake, he's not going to dwell on it. He's like a good parent. You messed up. I might give you a lecture. You might get a little bit of a punishment, but I'm not going to bench you for a game. I'm not going to sit you for the last two periods. We're going to hash it out. I'm going to expect you to do better. And the players do better because they want to play better, because it's Rod.
The greatest success that everyone has in life are the lessons that we learn from the mistakes. That usually it's the when you make a mistake in life, no matter where it is, if you're able to learn from it, you grow and become better. Now, look, I never played professional sport. Athlete growing up, got a lot of time playing sports. There was mentally nothing better than a coach who would look at you and just say, I believe in you. I'm giving you this role. I believe you can do it. And that's the kind of guy Rod is. Rod looks at Ethan Bear and says, I believe you can be a part of the number one pairing. And I'm going to put you up there. He could do the same thing. He can do the same thing with Jarvis.
I
He
think
could
he has in
throw
some
him
ways,
and yeah,
right?
and he will throw him into the lineup and say, get her done. You got the skill, you can do it. And mentally, that will mean so much for a young guy coming into the sport. You're just giving him the confidence, the strength, the reassurance to know he belongs. And yeah, there's expectations, but having that mental uh, shot in the arm to say, yeah, you could do this. I'm picking you. Get out there and do it. I think that just means good things. Good things come from that type of confidence instilled from a coach, from fellow players, leaders on the team. Imagine how Jordan Stahl's going to be able to, help Jarvis. Imagine all of the leaders on this team, everyone. It's such a tight knit group, right? Jarvis is going to benefit from this. And when he benefits, man, oh man, WHL, they, junior hockey, the WHL saw a lot of Jarvis. He was lighting it up. And the NHL is going to get a good close look at Jarvis. He was an amazing pick, and so glad that we might get a chance to see him step on the ice. It's going to be great.
It is, one of those philosophies of the Hurricanes locker room is next man up. So
Yep.
with Nino out, Jarvis, hopefully this is going to be your shot. Fully expect him to come out and play well. Anything else to say before we wrap up tonight, Ray?
You know what? Other than go Canes, I can't think of anything else. This is fantastic.
Go Canes! Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97. Our podcast is on all major podcast apps, including Apple, Google, and Spotify. Just search for Storm Cellar or find the direct links on our Facebook page. Our intro music is Year of the Exodus by Tech Warrior. You can find them on SoundCloud. Go Canes!